Jessica had $7.32 in her wallet, and her date was never coming back. She didn't know that yet. Not for certain. She just knew that 20 minutes had passed, that the waiter kept walking by with that look, the one that says I know something you don't, and that the pit in her stomach was getting harder to ignore. When he finally asked, gently, if she wanted another glass of wine, calling her Mom without meaning to, because of course a server her son's age would assume that Jessica's cheeks boned. She said no, just a check. Please. She opened her wallet with shaking fingers. $7.32. That was everything she had until payday, and payday was 4 days away. She'd spent money she didn't have to be here tonight. $40 for the babysitter, $25 for a blouse from the clearance rack, all because her co-workers swore this man, Brian, was husband material. And now he was gone, and Jessica was alone at the most expensive restaurant in Boston with a bill she couldn't pay and a 5-year-old son waiting for her at home. What she didn't know was that someone had been watching her all night. His name was Marcus Reed, CEO of one of the biggest property development companies on the East Coast. He sat in his usual corner table, the one where he could see the whole room, and he'd noticed her the moment she walked in, nervous, hopeful, smoothing down her blouse like she was about to walk into a job interview instead of a date. Now he watched that same hope crumble into quiet panic, and something in him wouldn't let it go. "Is everything all right?" the restaurant manager asked him. "The woman at table 7, Marcus said. "What's the situation?" The manager didn't need to look twice. Blind date. The man had stepped out 20 minutes ago and never come back, and the bill was substantial. Marcus's jaw tightened. He didn't know yet how much this one decision, to get up from his table and walk over to a stranger, was about to change two families forever. "Excuse me," he said, and Jessica looked up into the most intense brown eyes she'd ever seen. "I believe I'm an acquaintance of your companion this evening." He told her there had been an emergency. Brian's mother was in the hospital. He hadn't wanted to ruin her evening by interrupting to explain, so he'd asked Marcus to handle it instead. Relief flooded through Jessica, followed instantly by guilt. He could have just told me. I would have understood. And that one reaction, that flash of pure kindness even toward the man who'd just humiliated her, was something Marcus would remember for a long time. When the check came, he reached for it before she could stop him. "I couldn't possibly," Jessica started. "I insist," he said, and smiled, and something about that smile made her stomach do something strange. "Brian and I go way back. He'd do the same for me." She should have been more suspicious. Handsome, wealthy men do not appear out of nowhere to rescue abandoned women and ask for nothing in return. Every instinct told her to be careful, but there was something in his eyes that made her want to trust him anyway. He offered her his driver to get home. No strings attached, he promised. The car was already there, already paid for. The driver, he told her with a small grin, was 63 years old, had 5 grandchildren, and would talk about every single one of them the entire ride. That got a laugh out of her, despite everything. As the car pulled away from the curb, Jessica looked back and saw Marcus still standing at the entrance, watching her go. She didn't know that the moment she was out of sight, he pulled out his phone and made a call to a private investigator. "I need everything you can find on a man named Brian, last name unknown. He ditched a woman named Jessica Walsh with the bill tonight." A pause. "And one more thing. I want to know more about Ms. Walsh. 2. Nothing invasive. Just curiosity." It was not, in fact, just curiosity. And by the next morning, Jessica was about to find out exactly how much Marcus Reed already knew about her life, far more than any stranger should. The next morning, Jessica was racing down 3 flights of stairs with her son Noah, late for school because his favorite dinosaur shirt had vanished into the laundry basket. She had no idea her morning was about to get strange. Parked directly outside her building was the same black car from the night before. "Mr. Reed sent me," said Frank, the driver, tipping his cap, "to offer you and your son a ride this morning." Jessica stared at him. How did he even know where she lived? "Mr. Reed is very resourceful," Frank said simply, and handed her a cream-colored envelope with her name written in elegant script. Inside, a note. "I hope this small convenience makes your morning easier. No strings attached. Just paying forward a kindness once shown to me." Noah, of course, thought the car was the greatest thing that had ever happened to him. By the time they dropped him at school, Frank had let something slip without quite meaning to. Marcus, he said, hadn't always lived like this. He'd been raised by a single mother, worked his way through college, built everything from nothing. He saw someone who reminded him of himself. It didn't match the man in the tailored suit Jessica had met the night before, and it raised more questions than it answered. At her office, Frank handed her a second envelope, thicker this time. Inside was exactly enough cash to cover the babysitter and the blouse she'd bought for the date. The note told her not to argue. Consider it his penance. But how did he know about the babysitter? About the blouse? Jessica's gratitude curdled slightly into unease. This was a man who'd known her less than 12 hours and somehow knew the price tag of her clothes. When she tried to refuse the money, Frank just shook his head. He said, "You'd say that." Then, gently, he also said, "Pride is a luxury not everyone can afford." Those words landed harder than Jessica wanted to admit. She'd been doing everything alone for so long. No parents, no siblings, no one to lean on, that accepting help had started to feel like losing. That afternoon, a text came through from an unknown number. "I hope Frank made your commute smoother. Would you allow me to make up for Brian's behavior with dinner this Friday? I promise not to disappear." Her co-worker Melissa nearly fell out of her chair when she found out who'd sent it. Marcus Reed? The Marcus Reed? Jessica, his company is worth billions. "Men like that don't date women like me unless they want something," Jessica said. But that night, she searched his name anyway. Articles about his business. A foundation that funded scholarship for children of single parents. Nothing that explained why a billionaire was texting an administrative assistant from Dorchester, but nothing that made her want to say no, either. She typed back, "Dinner sounds nice, but I come with complications. Namely, a 5-year-old who is the center of my world. If that doesn't scare you off, then yes." His reply came in seconds. "Not scared at all. I look forward to meeting him someday." What Jessica didn't know was that across the city, Marcus was staring at that same text thread, his expression unreadable, because he was carrying a secret that would turn her entire world upside down the moment he found the courage to say it out loud. Friday night, Marcus didn't take her to a restaurant. He cooked for her himself, in the kitchen of a restored brownstone on Commonwealth Avenue, wearing a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up instead of his usual armor of a suit. He told her about his mother, a hospital cleaner by day, a waitress by night, gone now, cancer, when he was still in college. He told her that every building his company touched, they rehabilitated instead of gutting, because he'd watched his own mother struggle to find a safe place to live, and he refused to be part of that problem. For the first time in years, someone was asking Jessica real questions about her dreams, her life, not just about Noah, not just about insurance forms, about her. And then his phone rang. "The hospital," he said, stepping away to take the call. "Not an emergency, just expected." While he was gone, Jessica picked up a framed photograph from the side table, a boy, maybe 8 or 9, standing next to a woman in a hospital uniform. Something about the woman's face nagged at her, familiar in a way she couldn't place. "That's my mother," Marcus said, returning. His voice had changed, gone tight, and then he sat down across from her and said the sentence that would unravel everything. "Jessica, there's something I need to tell you. The night we met, it wasn't a coincidence." Her stomach dropped. He hadn't met her by chance at Bellini's. He'd known exactly who she was before he ever walked over to her table. He pulled up a photo on his phone and handed it to her, and Jessica felt the air leave her lungs. It was Mrs. Hernandez, her elderly neighbor, Noah's babysitter, the sweet woman who'd become like family to them over the past 2 years, lying in a hospital bed. "Her name is Elena Hernandez now," Marcus said quietly. "But she was Elena Reed. She's my mother's sister, my aunt." Jessica's mind raced backward through 2 years of small moments now glowing with new meaning. The way Mrs. Hernandez always mentioned my nephew. He works in buildings. The small gifts of Noah that were just something he picked up. The gentle, persistent questions about Jessica's love life. Her own neighbor had been quietly orchestrating this entire connection, and neither Jessica nor Marcus had had any idea, until Marcus saw her at the restaurant and recognized her from photographs his aunt had shown him. "So you lied," Jessica said. "You pretended not to know who I was." "Yes," Marcus admitted, "and I've regretted it every moment since." Jessica reached for her pose, her hands shaking, ready to walk straight out the door, and that's when Marcus told her the rest. Mrs. Hernandez wasn't just a topic of conversation. She was in the hospital right now. A minor stroke, the night before. Stable, but real. And she specifically asked Marcus not to tell Jessica, because she didn't want Noah to worry. Every instinct in Jessica told her to walk away from this man and his secrets. But she couldn't walk away from Elena. "Take me to her," she said. What waited in that hospital room was a discovery that would connect Jessica to a part of her past she thought she'd lost forever, and neither she nor Marcus saw it coming. Elena's face lit up the moment they walked through the door together. Jessica, Marcus, together, finally. Even weakened in a hospital bed, her delight was unmistakable. "I just found out about your matchmaking scheme," Jessica said, trying to sound stern and failing. "Not a scheme," Elena corrected, gripping her hand. "Destiny. I knew at the moment I met you. You have my sister's heart." Then, to Marcus, "And you needed someone real, not those women who only see your bank account." But Elena wasn't finished. She asked Marcus to retrieve a blue envelope from her purse, and inside, Jessica found an old photograph. Two young women in their 20s, arms around each other, laughing. One was unmistakably a younger Elena. The other was Jessica's mother. This is my mother," Jessica whispered, her hand trembling. "Maria," Elena said, tears welling in her eyes. "Before she married your father and became Maria Walsh. We were nursing assistants together, right here in this hospital, 30 years ago. Best friends, until she met your father and moved away." Jessica's mother had died when she was 16, taking with her every story Jessica never got the chance to hear. And here, impossibly, was a piece of her she never knew existed. "I didn't know at first," Elena explained gently. "Not until you mentioned your maiden name was Gomez. Then I saw her in you. Her smile, the way you tilt your head when you're thinking." Two best friends, separated by decades and circumstance, had unknowingly guided their children back together. Marcus looked as stunned as Jessica felt. Neither of them had any idea their mother's friendship was the invisible thread connecting their entire lives. Later, walking along the riverfront in the cool night air, Jessica finally asked the question that mattered most. "What is this between us? Is it just because of our mothers, or Elena's matchmaking?" Marcus stopped walking and faced her. "I was attracted to you before I knew any of that. The woman I saw at the restaurant, brave, proud, kind, even after being treated badly. That's who I wanted to know." He stepped closer. "The woman I've gotten to know since, devoted to her son, hard-working, resilient. That's who I'm falling for." "I'm an administrative assistant who can barely make rent some months," Jessica said. "You run a billion-dollar company. Our worlds aren't the same." "Aren't they?" he said softly. "We were both raised by single mothers who fought for everything we have. The only difference is time and opportunity." He took her hand. "I'm not asking for forever tonight. Just a chance to see where this goes." She looked down at their joined hands, then back up at him, and for the first time since the moment Brian had walked out of that restaurant and left her with $7.32 to her name, Jessica felt something that wasn't fair. "Okay," she said. "A chance." In the months that followed, Marcus became Noah's official dinosaur consultant, a title he took with total seriousness, arriving at the hospital with a museum-quality fossil cast that left a 5-year-old speechless. When Elena was discharged, her health scare made her reconsider living alone, and Marcus offered her an apartment in one of his buildings, on one condition she insisted on herself, that Jessica and Noah move into the same building. "I'm not ready to stop being Noah's honorary grandmother," she said. When Jessica protested that she couldn't accept something so generous, Marcus had one answer. "It's not charity. It's family. Our mothers would have wanted this." 6 months later, on a crisp autumn evening, Marcus brought her to the rooftop garden of their building, fairy lights strung overhead, the city spread out below like scattered stars. "Our story began long before we ever met," he said, kneeling before her, a small velvet box in his hand. "I believe our mothers brought us together for a reason." He opened the box. "Jessica Walsh, would you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" Tears filled her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes." That night, when they told Noah, his response was pure 5-year-old logic. Does this mean Frank will drive us everywhere now? They laughed, and across the room, Elena quietly wiped away tears of her own. Two old friends, separated by 30 years and a chance neither of them ever got to take, had somehow found a way to bring their children home to each other after all. Jessica had once stood in a restaurant with $7 to her name, certain she'd been left behind for good. She hadn't been. She'd been found. And this time, nobody was leaving her behind ever again.